Lost my agenda.
What?
Work off yours? I left it in there.
Did you bring it up there?
Yeah. Okay, the board will be coming back into the 7 o'clock meeting now, ending our 15-minute recess, so now we're back in session. And the next order of business we have is the water filtration facility, the borrowing on bond, and town treasurer Kate Cushing is here. So Kate, if you'd like to come forward and
Yes.
Hi, Kate.
give us the good news.
Hello. I'm here to ask you to award the bid that we received to Fleet National Bank for the bonds on the water filtration plant. It's actually a ban, I'm sorry. It's a bond anticipation note for $2,975,000.
What was that?
$2,975,000. It's a short-term note to bridge the gap between our borrowing with the SRF. We received 6 bids, and the bid we received from Fleet National Bank, a Bank of America company now, was 1.84%.
The others came, the high end was,
The high end was 2.75, the next lowest was 2.10. So
Wow.
Fleet was very low.
Can I
This
ask
came
who the
from
highest
Fleet?
is, out of curiosity?
The highest was 2.75.
What did-
Oh, who?
Yeah.
It was First Southwest Company.
Okay,
That's,
no, low,
good.
still, but I like the 1.4 better.
yeah, 1.84.
Yeah, 1.84.
And Kate, the short-term ban is over 3.5
months.
2.5 months? Okay. Any board
So-
members, any other questions for town treasurer? Philip?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Steve?
I'm all set.
Dino?
All set?
Need a motion?
Entertain a motion to accept?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we accept the ban at the interest rate of 1.84 in the amount of $2,997,500, is that what it was?
975.
975,000.
Is there a second to the motion?
All set.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thanks, Kate.
Oh, that's
All right.
Lots and lots.
I brought an extra fresh pen tonight.
we need it. I'm a line away.
Where are you, Kate?
You taking a second?
Okay. Hold on, I don't want to get confused. Did I almost hit you today? Are these already signed, Kate?
I need you.
These are signed by me. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Sorry. My pen isn't flowing tonight. This is me and how about,
These need those two guys.
do we need to leave them for Mark Elworthy, Kate, or no?
No, as long as I have majority.
Yes.
I'm missing something here.
Jeepers.
That one's full. Four, yep.
Okay, if anything with this.
Just on the side tab.
You can do that one.
This one's full.
This one too. This one's done, Katie.
It's pretty much full.
This has four. I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thanks,
time,
Kate.
Jay.
Thanks, Katie. What's next?
Next we have is the North Dyke transfer easement, and that's on under the water filtration.
Oh, okay.
That's the one I
Got it.
forgot to bring up under.
Yep.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to grant Mass Electric an easement to maintain a pad-mounted transformer at the North Dyke pumping station.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. And just under let's see, time, 10 times. This is the town. I'll take accept a motion to go into old business just to bring up the fiscal year 2005.
Chairman, I'll make a motion, we go back into old and new business.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. And just to bring up for information for the board, they can digest it and we can talk about it if they choose so at the next meeting. Basically, I believe this was brought up by the town accountant to see if we would, at our last meeting, we voted to take the $322,000 that we did have and put that into stabilization fund. Town accountant would like to see it to go to the pension fund. So I just wanted to bring that up to the board and they could look it over, and if they had any questions or comments, we could probably we obviously talk about it now and just bring it over to the next meeting. I would like to see it actually stay, the 322, actually go back into the, or stay where we voted to have it go, to the stabilization fund to build up our cushion in that account. Basically, the pension fund, we're going to be putting money into that anyways. And all they do here is just stretch the payments over 20 or 30 years. So we're going to be paying that, and there's no like penalties or fees. It's not like a bill of some sort. So it's still, I mean, we're going to be paying into that anyways. So that's just my opinion. I'd like to see the $322,000 go into the stabilization fund to build up that fund and to use that for a rainy day
Do you want to
or
wait for
an
the
emergency.
full board, or do you want to vote on it?
That's just for, just give me my opinion. We can bring it up at the next meeting
Do
for
we
full
know-
board and see how Mark feels
Yeah,
about it.
I kind of feel we should kind of leave it in the stabilization fund also, but I like to
Do we know
release-
what the reasoning behind
Yeah,
that
Well,
was?
we could have the accountant come at the next meeting too and just ask her reason for putting it up, bringing up the issue.
Okay.
You know, we can have her on the agenda for next
Yeah,
meeting
that
for
was
the
my concern
27th.
too.
Yeah, just to see what
Understand why.
the reasoning is about it.
So Mike, we can put her on the agenda for the October 27th meeting and just get she can give us a brief synopsis of why she
We're
wanted
not
it.
going to meet October 27th.
We're not?
So
Are we meeting the 27th?
we're meeting, we
Yeah.
have a special town meeting on the 25th.
Mhm.
Are we meeting Wednesday night also? I thought we were not.
Well, we're still on our 2-week,
we
basically,
on?
we're on the warrant. Yeah, we are on. I apologize that everyone was aware of that, but that was my fault. So yeah, we are on for that, the 27th,
Okay.
for 7.
Not the
p.m.
20th, the 27th.
27th. Well, next week we're on.
Then we have the town meeting,
Town meeting on the 25th, that's
and
right.
then we're gonna meet the 27th.
Right.
Good,
So that would be at the 27th, 2 weeks from now.
perfect.
So we can just, that's just a,
Yeah, that was,
that's just my opinion on it, and obviously it'd be nice to get the town accountant's, reasoning why she put it
I
on.
tend to agree with you, Mr. Chairman, but I think it would be good to have her come in.
No, I agree.
Just to hear the reasoning.
That's a consensus.
Right.
I'll accept a motion to go out of old new business.
I'll make a motion that we go out.
Well, actually, there's no more old new business, so we're just, yeah.
What about the, oh yeah,
So basically, I'm gonna say it's not quite 7:15 yet, we do have a public hearing for 7:15.
Mr. Chairman.
I guess I'll entertain, if there is any public comment out there? Yeah, that's not.
Okay.
There being no public comment, I guess we'll close that part.
Just one public comment, I guess,
Sure.
from myself here. Would wish Selectman Elworthy the speedy recovery if he isn't feeling too well tonight.
Yes, that's, I heard he
I
was
guess
ill,
he
too.
doesn't feel too well, so. Mark, if you're watching, I hope you're feeling okay. Go Yankees.
Don't write that down, Joyce. And do we have any committee reports? Okay.
There's some paperwork for the board to sign if you want to do that.
Sure, yeah, that will bring us up to 7:15.
Till some
I
time.
guess just under public comment that the townspeople should know, we have a special town meeting coming up for Monday, October 25th. Again, that's Monday, October 25th, and that's at 7 p.m. here at the Town Hall in the Fallon Memorial Auditorium. So please come down, we have to make a quorum. and there's
Yeah, we
some,
need a quota, so.
There's some issues on there that need to be addressed. So please attend.
Thank you.
Easement. Warrant for the special town meeting.
Just one mic on that.
Yeah, just one, please. And this is that DOR letter, the cheap copies. You sign it first.
Do we do the easement one? Is that what we just signed?
Yeah, that's okay.
That's one from Mass Electric.
Yep.
That's electric easement. Filtration.
Sure. Okay.
There's no assistant dog officer.
No.
They just don't.
They call it. Okay, we have all the warrants signed, all the rest of the paperwork. Okay, I have 7:15, and we'll start the hearing for the underground storage tank license. It's a public hearing for 291 Berlin Street. We have Eugene Nietzsche doing business as Cash Auto Sales. So Eugene, if you'd like to come and approach the board. If you can just state your name and your address for the Selectman Secretary.
Eugene Nietzsche, doing business as Cash Auto Sales, 291 Berlin Street, Clinton, Mass.
And hold on one second. Joyce, can you get Mike to swear in and that he's gonna... Thanks. Just 1 second, we got the town administrator.
It's the fire chief.
He is here.
Good.
Mike, if you can just,
Sure.
Mr. Nietzsche.
We asked that stand and ask that, say I, Eugene Nietzsche, swear that all the information and testimony you give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So,
I, Eugene Nietzsche, swear that today all the testimony and information is the truth.
thank you.
Thanks, man.
Okay, you're on if you want to give the board a description of what you want to do up in the location. Or all yours.
What I'd like to do is put the gasoline pumps and tanks back in on the property to start selling gasoline. I hate selling used cars. I'm trying to put that to the back burner. I think we've done a traffic count up there, and I think there's enough traffic up there to sustain a gasoline business along with the repair business. And we haven't even taken into account the vehicles that'll be coming from the new development. I think it also, I don't know how many of you have ever gone and got gas down at the corner there. It can be pretty hazardous getting in and out of there. I think it might help alleviate some of that problem. I also, at the same time, as you know, it's an E21 property, and I'm seeking financing to do the E21 on the property and the tanks and pumps and everything together, so we can get a clean slate on the property and get it squared away.
Are you also looking to do like, you can do strictly gas? Are you going to do, like, is it going to be a garage, automotive repairs?
We have a 3-bay garage there now where we do auto repairs, and we have a Class 2 license for 6 vehicles, but I want to maintain that license because it might be an asset in the future, but I'm kind of putting that to the back, I'm trying to put that to the back burner.
So your main plan would be just gas pumps, no garage?
No, the auto repair would still
Be
continue.
in service?
Oh, yes, we have
Would you have like a mini mart type thing set up too, or?
I wasn't planning on that, no.
Okay, so just strictly
Just strictly-
automotive?
Right.
Okay. Does any board members have any questions for Mr. Nietzsche? And then we'll obviously have the fire chief and building inspector approach, just to get their input.
I got a couple
Selectman Mazzillo,
questions.
go ahead.
How many pumps do you think you have, Mr. Nietzsche?
I'd like to put 2 pumps in with 4 dispensers.
2 pumps for you. Okay. And is there ever, do we know, has there been pumps there before?
Yes, there was.
Okay.
According to what the fire chief told me, the last time they pumped gas there was in 1974, and I believe the tanks, he said, were taken out in 1994 under his supervision.
So there's no existing tanks there?
There's nothing there now. Everything would be new equipment.
And I can picture your building, obviously, in the front part right there. Do you know how far off the road that would be?
From the front of the building to the edge of the road is 34 feet. There is a patch there where the old pumps were,
Yeah.
and it's room enough to swing safely and enough off the road and between the building and the island.
And you'd be putting these pumps in the same as the previous?
I
or
think that
thereabouts?
would be the wise thing to do, because I think if I located them somewhere else, I would have to go through, when you increase a nonconformity, you have to go for a special permit or whatever.
That was my final and last question, I guess. The permit or license you have now, is this a whole new license that you have to apply for to get the pumps?
As far as I
I believe it's just existing. The old license was for 7,000 gallons, and this would be for 20,000 gallons, so it's increasing it by 13,000.
So it's the same license, but you just, that's for the fire chief? Okay, we can wait on that, Mr. Chairman.
But it was for 7,000 gallons?
I'm assuming it was 7,000, and you had 7,000 tanks that were removed.
I guess it was for 7,000 gallons.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm asking for the 20,000 gallons is I know truck traffic is excluded on Berlin Street.
Yeah.
And by going with the larger capacity, it would be, instead of 2 or 3 times a week a truck delivering, it'd be once every other week or whatever.
Right, okay.
Any other
Thank you,
questions?
Mr. Chairman. I'm all set.
Selectman Mendoza, any questions?
That was my question, you answered it for me, so.
Okay. Selectman Zepanthis?
Are you going to be with a brand name? Is it going to be?
I have a company that I've inquired with, and they are a distributor. They can get me any brand. They suggested in an operation like mine that I go with an unbranded and then just name it something like Town Line Gas or something like that, or whatever.
Any other questions? If the building inspector and fire chief would approach, and if you have, I guess, if you have comments on it, if you don't, obviously you don't have to approach, but we'd like to get your input.
I think I put it in the letter, if we need anything explained or cleared up, I'm willing to do it.
Yeah, I did.
Would you mind just briefing, just for the public, would you mind doing that?
As Mr. Nisi had mentioned, he had approached me and inquired as to putting a gas station in there. He wanted 20,000 gallon storage, which is somewhat about average for the gas stations in town. They probably range from 16 to 24,000 is a general rule. Sometime in the 70s, they stopped pumping gas at the site. The tanks were sitting there and forgotten about for about 20 years until we happened to notice they're still in the ground. We pursued it, and in '94, Drake Petroleum removed them from the ground and all the piping. As you can see, in some of the senior selectmen may remember, in the 90s, I sent up lists of properties in town that at some point had licenses for the storage of flammables. And I had inquired and asked that they have a hearing and revoke them, which we did for many of the old places in town that at some point had gasoline or underground storage. This was one that hadn't been done. So from the research after he came into me, it appears as though there's a 7,000 or up to 7,000 gallon license for the property that's still out there. And the license for the property continues indefinite or until revoked. 7,000 really wouldn't be enough to run a gas station on because the truck would be coming much too often to refill you. It'd put everyone in a more dangerous situation to have trucks traveling in and out that frequently. So he applied for the license, I reviewed it. I don't see any reason where there's a whole bunch of gas stations around them where I can actually say we should deny it. I will be following up on it. He's going to need additional permits from the fire department if it should be granted tonight. And at that point, we're going to ensure that it's installed with all safety measures and monitoring that's required under the codes. But that's where we stand. I believe the decision's up to the licensing authority, which is the Board of Selectmen. And if you issue it, then I'll ensure that it's done in a safe manner.
Any board members have questions for the chief?
Just one question, Kevin. So, Chief, we're actually amending the license, an existing license, to read from up to 7,000 to move it up to 20,000 gallons.
That's the way I interpret it.
So you said that the license stays with the property indefinitely unless revoked.
Right. It has nothing to do with the installation. The installation will come afterwards through permits.
And most gas stations have 16,000 to 24,000 in that range.
In that range somewhere,
And it's better to have trucks come once in a while than more frequently, correct?
right. They put in, a lot of them will put in bigger tanks that are divided if they have separate brands. Some of them actually do a mixing, multi-grade pumps.
I'm all set. Thanks, Chief, for that.
I do just got a couple there, Chief. Sounds like the 20,000 gallon tank, that's the right thing to do, you don't have a problem with that, right? You did mention in your letter the Conservation Commission should be consulted. Do we know if that's happened yet?
Yes, Conservation Commission had gotten a notification, the hearing notice, and I had spoken to the chairman of the Conservation as well. He said, according to his analysis, that Mr. Nietzsche would have to come through the Conservation anyways once he does any type of construction.
Okay.
So they didn't say that it should be Conservation first, and Selectmen second, or Selectmen first, Conservation, whatever. They said no matter what we do, he's gonna have to appear before
He's
them.
gonna have to go through the proper channels, in other words.
Exactly,
With his,
yeah.
EPA and local boards.
So it starts with us and then he...
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, so there is conservation land abutting that property. Actually, the Conservation Commission had gotten a butters notice, that as part of the abutters list, they were on that list, so they had gotten a butter notification, so there is conservation land. So any construction that's going to be done in that area with conservation property is going to have to get their approvals in order to.
And that's what I was just gonna bring up. I can just interject that all the neighbors, obviously butters, were notified on this, so everyone's well aware of it. This is a
there was
public
bunch
hearing,
of
so. Just wanted to make sure everyone out there who's not in a butter, and people just watching that, all the neighbors were notified and they're well aware of it.
And there's a legal notice in the paper as well.
Right, and also a legal notice in the paper as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Selectman
Chief,
Vazillo, any other?
just one more thing. You said, obviously, you follow up with the permits and stuff. Do you oversee the installation
Yes,
personally?
yes.
Or will someone else? You personally through the fire department? I guess I should say the fire department will
Right.
oversee the installation.
And he's got to use a licensed installer.
Okay. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Anything else to add, Chief? Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter, you have anything to add?
Thanks, Chief.
I'm Peter Pender, I'm the building inspector and the zoning agent for town of Clinton. And I know Mr. Nietzsche is a small businessman and empathize with him. I know it's tough to make a dollar, and personally, I'd be in favor of a gas station in that area. But, I mean, I think we have these zoning bylaws, and I think you better take a look at it and make sure we're, have the bases covered. Berlin Street, that's in the most restrictive area of town. It's residential, it's a R2. And if you go to the zoning bylaws on page 6, fuel storage or distribution facility, it says N, that means it's not allowed.
I guess the only question I have with that, if he has an existing permit though,
Well,
and looking to amend
and
it.
that's just the point. I mean, I just want to raise it to you guys.
Sure.
And then that's the decision. I mean, if, in generally speaking, with the zoning bylaws, anything that has been abandoned, and use has been abandoned for 2 or more years, then it's been abandoned.
Right.
So, if someone had a bar room up on Burnett Hill, and then they moved out, and then 3 years later, somebody else wanted to put the bar room in the same place, well, you couldn't do that because...
The site might be abandoned, but if that person sells a permit in that area, I guess that's a question I have.
Well,
I
obviously...
don't know if we're splitting hairs here, but it's, there's a lot of what ifs.
That's the question I just want to make the board aware of, you know.
Okay.
I mean,
So in your opinion, what do you think?
My opinion?
Mr.
Building inspector.
well, in my opinion, I don't think it's grandfathered. I think that, I mean, it's a new use.
Okay. I think what we could do is leave this hearing open, table it to the 27th meeting, till the solicitor's here and he had time to look at it and we could get his opinion. I could, we could do that if the board chose to. I guess that's an option too, to go, just an option.
Okay.
Can I add to this?
Sure.
This was the basis on my applying for this, was the section number 3600, the non-conforming uses. And it says this zoning bylaw shall not apply to structures or uses lawfully in existence or lawfully begun, or to a building or special permit issued before the first publication of notice of the public hearing required by GL see 40AS5, at which this zoning bylaw or any relevant part thereof was adopted. Such prior lawfully existing non-conforming uses and structures may continue, provided that no modifications of the use or structure is accomplished unless authorized hereunder. Now, if you abandon a non-conforming use, if it had been abandoned for 2 years or more, it would have reverted back to residential. If it had reverted back and been abandoned, I wouldn't be there now.
No, that's not the situation at all. You have a pre-existing non-conforming use, and that use is to sell vehicles up there and to service vehicles, but when you talk about the fuel storage and distribution facility, that's a different ballgame.
It was there before.
I know it was there before, but there hasn't been any gas tanks. They already said it hasn't been pumped since 1974.
But it
So
doesn't-
obviously it hasn't been a gas station for 2 years.
It doesn't say that. The thing is, it's a non-conforming existing business, and I'm still there.
Well,
And that means the
least you'd have,
has
Mr.
not been abandoned.
Mr. Nietzsche, the least you'd have is an extension of a non-conforming use, and you'd have to go to the zoning board of appeals to get that special permit.
Well,
So,
I'm sure I got to go through that anyways, yeah.
well, then we should make the planning board, the selectmen aware of that. You might as well put the cards on the table. So you agree that you think you need a special permit?
Well, in order to go with the construction, I'm going to have to get a building permit and all the rest of it.
Well, you never did,
That goes
you never got one before.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks, Peter. Well, I'll open for debate on the board.
I want to show you.
I mean, if we have, my issue is we have zoning, obviously we have zoning laws for the town. And I hate to see that the Board of Selectmen overstep them. Not saying we are, but I want to make sure we're acting in the right guidelines. Basically, it comes to everyone's interpretation of basically who's reading the zoning bylaw and who thinks, what they should receive from it.
And there's been nothing from the zoning board, is that correct?
Well, he still would have to go through them anyways.
Right.
But I would want to make sure that we're acting within our own bylaws that we set forth in the town. If we're setting bylaws and not abiding by them, what's the sense of having bylaws if the board's just going to act irresponsibly?
Should we send them through the zoning?
Well, I mean, I have no issue of leaving the hearing open for till 2 weeks until we have enough, town council has enough time, he can look at this for 2 weeks and then get back to us at the 27th. Mr. Nietzsche could come before us again at the 27th meeting, and we could take it from there. So town council has time to digest it and look at it and just give us his opinion on it. I'd feel more comfortable in voting to grant them. I mean, right now, my opinion would be say, okay, but with all the zoning issues that have arisen, I would, like to get the town council involved and see, and have him read it, and, because the way I look at it, I interpret things different than Mr. Nietzsche, than Mr. Pender. I mean, everyone's going to interpret it different ways, and I just want to make sure that we're acting within our guidelines. So that'd be my opinion. I'll open it for discussion.
Well, no, I think I agree. I think that we need to make sure that we're doing the right thing and that, that we go through the proper channels, and I'm certainly not against it, but I think we have to make sure we do it right.
Yeah, just to clarify my point, I'm not against it either.
Right.
Like I said, I think that's a good idea, but I think that we make sure we cover our bases.
Exactly.
Not necessarily to review this, that's my interpretation, but.
Well, Peter, that's your position. That's what you have to do. Your job is to enforce the
I guess-
zoning laws.
I felt that if I didn't call the board's attention to it and we approved it tonight,
Right.
that might not be in good precedence.
No, right. Yeah, no, we definitely need to do it right, so I guess, I'll make a motion that we can leave this hearing open until the 27th. We'll get town council involved and have Mr. Nietzsche come back on the 27th and...
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Fire
I'd
chief.
just like to correct one item. When they removed tanks, they removed the 3,000 and the 4,000. That's where I was getting the 7,000. Looking at the assessor's records, latest date on here was fiscal year 91, indicates that they had a 4,000 gallon tank and a 6,000 gallon.
That's 10.
So
So 10.
the current license would be 10,000.
Okay.
So we'll continue
Just
these
wanted
by
to
another
clarify.
10.
Thank
Okay.
you, Chief.
Thanks, chief.
Thank you.
Selectman Pizzillo made a motion. Obviously, there's a second, obviously it'll still be under discussion if there's a second to it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll leave the second.
Thank you.
Under-
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion, under discussion?
Yeah, under discussion, I think it's a good idea to have a gas station up there. Many times that I've been driving halfway up there and find out I don't have any gas, I gotta go back, all the way back, either to Cumberland's or Rigetti, and there's nothing out towards Route 7 or anything like that.
All the way to 495 after that.
Exactly.
No, it would be a good spot to have, and I agree with you.
And I think the fact that they had 10,000 gallons there before, you know,
That's even better.
right, so it's like, and the fact that if you make it 20, you don't have trucks coming back and forth, I think it's a plus to do it that way also. I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but how I interpret it, I think that it's okay to do it, but I'm okay to have, you know, a solicitor look at it. But
I'm
just to make sure that
looking
we do the right thing, but how I interpret it is that it's okay to do that. Again, I'm not a...
I interpret the same way you did, Steve, and obviously I'm for, you know,
And I
it'd be
would
nice
be
to
in
have a gas
favor
station in that area
of
too.
that, but doing something.
But I want to make sure if we're setting forth the laws in the town,
I agree with
the board has to abide by them as well.
Right.
You know, I hate to see us over, you know.
Right.
over
So my
separate
biggest thing is that
meetings.
as long as we're consistent across the board with everybody,
Right.
then everything's fine.
And just to reiterate, Selectman Mendoza, I'm absolutely for it. I just
Thank
want to
you.
make sure we do the right thing. and
Well, I
go
do
through
want to
it.
assure you that I do want to follow the proper steps and do it right. I not only look at this as an investment in the future of Clinton, but myself also.
Right.
But you know where we're coming from, this board here, we
Oh,
have to be
sure.
in compliance with the laws we set
Oh, yes.
forth as well.
Yes.
You know, what we set forth at town meeting. Like I say, we can't overstep the bounds, because then it'd be
Right.
more than it'd be like a dictatorship up here.
Right,
We don't
right.
follow our own laws.
Yeah, we just want to make sure we do it right.
Selectman Zapantis, you have any questions or
No,
comments?
I do have a comment, Mr. Chairman. I definitely like the idea of the gas station up on Broken Street, but we do need to have a legal interpretation of the bylaws.
So, I guess the motion was, Phil's motion to leave the hearing open till the 27th, and then we'll reconvene on that.
You want me to come back to
Yes.
27th? Okay,
So you'd have to come back in front of the
Okay.
the 27th.
okay, very good.
So the motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Nietzsche.
you.
Thank you.
See you in 2
Thank you
weeks.
all.
Okay, and the only thing else we have on the agenda is a executive session article under Article 3, it's DPW union contract, which I'll be removing myself from. So the only thing we have after that is signing of the warrant, so that'll be it for the town. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Chief.
Have a good week.
Motion to go into executive session under Article 3.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion? There being none, roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Chairman, I'm not going to vote on it, I'm going to
Recuse
recuse myself. So, good luck, gentlemen.